You know how it is, right? We see a problem and our brain immediately jumps to a solution. It's just human nature. But today, we're going to look at a powerful, human-centered method that completely flips that script. It's a way to tackle our most complex challenges, and it starts by forgetting the solution. So, let's start with the story. We're in Johannesburg, South Africa, and the city has two completely separate issues on its plate. First, their public libraries are, well, they're empty. Nobody's really going anymore. And second, they've got this incredible community of micro-entrepreneurs, street vendors, small-scale tailors, hairdressers, who are really struggling to make their businesses work.
So, the city council comes up with what sounds like a genius idea. A perfect 2-for-1. Why not take those empty library spaces and turn them into business hubs to help the entrepreneurs? It's logical, it's efficient. It's a clear win-win, right?
But here's where it gets interesting. What if that perfect, logical, obvious solution wasn't the right one at all? What if, by fixating on this clever idea, the city was about to completely miss what was really going on?
And this gets to the heart of a really big idea. The problem you think you're solving isn't always the problem that actually needs to be solved. And luckily, there's a specific method designed to help us uncover that deeper truth.
And that method? It's called design thinking. To put it simply, it's all about finding the right problems, the truly human ones, and then building solutions that actually work for people. It's a process, sure, but it's also a whole set of tools, and maybe most importantly, it's a mindset. And the very first step in the design thinking way is, well, it's a little radical. You take that brilliant solution, turning libraries into business hubs, and you just put it on a shelf. You forget about it, at least for now. Because if you're serious about helping the entrepreneurs, you have to start with the entrepreneurs, not with your clever idea about libraries.
So this first step, starting with people, has a name. It's called empathy. And it's all about getting out of the conference room, stepping away from the spreadsheet, and building a real, genuine understanding of the people you're trying to help.
The whole process really has 4 key steps, and this is the absolute foundation. Step 1, empathize. This is where you go deep. You set aside every single one of your assumptions to truly understand the world from someone else's point of view, their experiences, their challenges, their real needs.
Now, building this kind of empathy isn't about sending out a survey. It's about full immersion. Researchers use tools like ethnography, which is a fancy word for just visiting vendors' stalls, walking the same streets, buying their stuff, basically experiencing their world firsthand. They did deep interviews, had people keep diaries to map out their days. The goal is to get as close as you possibly can to their reality.
Okay, so after you've spent all this time in their world, gathering all this rich, messy human data, what's next? Well, now you have to make sense of it all. This is where you move from feeling to focus. This is where you find the real problem.
This second step, define, is where the magic really happens. It's about shifting from that wide-open exploration to a laser-sharp focus. You synthesize everything you've learned, you look for patterns, and you start to zero in on the single most important need that you have to address.
And check this out. This is the kind of thing you get. Instead of a vague goal like help entrepreneurs, you get this, a super sharp defined problem statement. Just look how specific it is. It tells you who the user is, what they need, and the key insight, the why. He has no cash flow and he can't get bulk discounts. Now that is a problem you can actually solve. It's concrete, it's human, and it's something you can really sink your teeth into.
Okay, now, and only now that we have a real, human problem to solve, are we allowed to start brainstorming solutions. This is where we finally get to shift from understanding the problem to actually creating the answer.
So the final 2 steps are ideate and refine. Ideation is just a brainstorm on steroids. You go for quantity over quality, generating tons of ideas, from the sensible to the totally wild. Then, in the refined stage, you pick a promising idea, you build a really simple, low-cost prototype, and, this part is critical, you test it with the actual users. You get their feedback, you see what works, what doesn't, and you do it again and again until the solution really fits.
All right, so this whole human-centered process seems perfect for a social challenge, right? Like helping entrepreneurs. But what about something really, really technical? Could this same way of thinking apply to, I don't know, rocket science?
Let's just compare 2 totally different worlds for a second. On one side, you've got the complex human world of street vendors in Johannesburg. On the other, you've got the hyper-technical, physics-driven challenge of designing a thermal control system for a space station.
They seem like they're from different planets. One is about people and profit margins.
The other is about thermodynamics and fluid dynamics in zero-G. Is there any overlap at all here?
Well, get this. Here's a quote from a researcher working on multidisciplinary design, analysis, and optimization, which is basically a fancy term for rocket science. Even when they're dealing with incredibly complex software, they found the biggest challenge, the most important part, was the interpersonal stuff, the human element.
And it turns out that designing a system like this isn't just about the math. It's about getting teams of brilliant experts from totally different fields, people with different vocabularies, different perspectives, to actually work together. Those same collaborative, human-centered methods you'd use to understand a street vendor, they are absolutely vital for getting these engineers to build something that works as a complete system.
And this points to a huge trap in any field, but especially in engineering, just giving a team a list of technical requirements. As one senior engineer said, you can build something that checks every single box on that list, but that doesn't mean it's the best solution. By only focusing on the specs, you can be completely blind to amazing, innovative opportunities that only come from deep collaboration.
So at the end of the day, what we're really talking about is more than just a four-step process. It's a fundamental shift in how we look at problems, whether they're about people on the street or satellites in orbit. It's a whole new way of thinking.
And that mindset means being comfortable with not knowing the answer right away. It means looking at failure not as a disaster, but as a critical piece of data. It means you'd rather build a quick and dirty prototype than have another meeting about it. And most of all, it means you're always challenging your own assumptions about the problem, about the user, and about your own brilliant solution.
So I'll leave you with this. The next time you're facing a tough challenge, at work or maybe even in your own life, just ask yourself, are you jumping straight to a solution? Or are you willing to hit pause, set that idea aside, and start by truly understanding the human at the very center of it all? You might be amazed at what you discover.